Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. It's our first post-Roadburn interview, and I'm very, very happy to be recording this a little shortly before Roadburn. And I'm also very happy to once again have one of those, I would say, new wave of American noise rock bands here on the show. A few weeks ago, we had Pyramid Mass. Now we have this very interesting anonymous collective called Plague Marks. So I'm very, very happy to have one of the members here, whom I will only address with his stage moniker, the wonderful Midnight Moses. Moses, thanks for joining.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Moses, let me get this straight first. Is this band in any way related to a Philadelphia band from, I think, 8 years ago, which is homophonous to your band, but it was written as complete words? Is there any connection between this band and your band?
There is a lineage, yes, but we've kind of reborn. We've been reborn.
So you've gone through the pit of Lazarus and come back.
Exactly. Good
Wonderful.
call.
For everybody, when you are listening to this in a few days, their debut EP will be out. You might have heard one of the tracks, I think, on our friends at Decibel. The EP is called Cumgitsum. And this time, once in a while, I'll spell it out because it's one word: CUM GITSUM. It's going to be out on Reptilian Records in the US, on Fust and Bust in Canada, and on Totem Cat here in Europe. So, I mean, I've already hinted at the spelling. There is a lot of humor in your band's music and in your band's lyrics. But let's put it this way. The tongue-in-cheek element is only part of what you're aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we think that humor is kind of missing from a lot of bands, especially in the heavier genres. People taking themselves very seriously, and I'm all about seriousness, but also like this band is about being silly and having a good time, but also maybe spitting some truth in there as well, maybe to a degree. You know what I mean? So.
We'll come to the latter part. So how do you then feel about bands like War or Squid Pisser, who also do something similar, who are funny but don't take themselves too seriously?
I think that's something that's much needed right now in music, especially in heavier music. A little bit of humor, having a good time, even, like the theatrical element of just like chaos on stage and people that, I don't know, just going to a show and just seeing something that's silly and crazy and cool and scary, everything in one thing, because there is still a threat there, but it's underneath a smile.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I put the knife in your hand and then I'm going to shake it. I like the sound of the band a lot because although, of course, there is a certain level of noise rock at the surface level, but there is also a heck of a lot of melody going on beneath. So how difficult is it to ride that razor blade for Plague Marks?
I don't know. I think it's actually just how it turned out based on the music that we were listening to at the time. We wanted to do something that was like out of the lineage of the previous Black Marks happenings like 7 years ago, but we wanted to take it to where we were talking about taking it, so it wasn't going to be in this little box of noise rock, which I am a fan of, but a lot of times it can be very monotonous or boring. You know what I mean? It's like going to see three gas station workers up there playing that don't even look at the audience. I mean, that's great, but we wanted to do more with it. So I think that had to do with with listening to a lot of Funkadelic and stuff at the time, and just like getting a little like wild with the guitars. It's we're doing some type of noise rock, but it also is some type of psychedelic rock as well, acid rock, you know.
Yeah. There is also one track in particular. We'll come to that in a moment. The fourth track, Sugar Smack Jack. We'll have to talk about that in a moment. You've mentioned Funkadelic. Your press kit gives me another reference, and that's Flipper. I like the combination. However, I was thinking less of Flipper, but more of a band like Jesus Lizard or maybe also Rape Man. So I mean, like there is a lot of Funkadelic in it. So
To a degree, maybe that is, since we have another record we already have another record finished. Maybe it's more of a precursor of where we're going.
So you're going more American hardcore and less Soul Train. Okay, I see that.
No, I would say we're going more funkadelic, you know.
Okay.
And maybe we used Flipper because maybe when we were starting, that was the idea, but it turned into more of like a Swans Cop era and another band that I'm not even going to mention her name because I just don't want to be shrouded in shame.
It's good that you hint at bands. Let me get this straight. I heard many rumors, and could it be the way that one or two or several of you have been in one of the following bands? Fetus, Melvins, Unsane, Current 93, Nine Inch Nails, Swan, and Offer and Punisher. Have any one of you been in any of those bands? That's what the rumors tell me.
Some of us have had time in some of those bands, yes.
See. Moses, we've already hinted at like stage monikers yourself, and you also have like wonderful others like Cletus, Auritus, Auritus. Who comes up with that stuff? And most important, in which situation?
Actually, the Cletus is the one that actually is the maybe creative heart of the band. That's where a lot of the ideas come from his head, you know, and he's the one that named everyone and kind of, in a way, how we did this record, you know, he would hum out some of the songs and then I would put it into form of music, you know what I mean? So it's a very like weird, strange. I mean, you know, of Trop Mask Replica, Captain Beefheart. I mean, it's a similar way in that, yeah, you know, they say Beefheart basically, you know, played all the music on a piano and gave it to John French to transcribe and give it to the rest of the musicians. So in a way, we kind of like did it like that. And that's why it is maybe different than anything we've done before, because he's never even written music. And this guy's an old man. He's in his 60s. So it's his first foray into music outside of the art world, you know?
So you've just mentioned it, and that is also something that I wanted to get at. Did these songs come to life as songs or as single parts that you then put together into tracks?
I would say every song is different, maybe.
Okay.
Some of the songs on this is a short EP, you know, but some of those songs.
Well, it's 25 minutes. It's basically as long as Bad Religions Suffer album. So well, come on.
I would have just called it an album, but yeah, people are all up in arms about that. Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying, since we have so much more material already in the waiting, it's like certain songs where this was a transitional record for us to put out, to transition from where the previous Plaque Marks spelled out band name was to the current incarnation of PLQ MRX, going towards where we're going to be. So some of these songs in this album were written as, you know, riffs, and then we just kind of like put the lyrics over top, and other songs were written around the lyrics, which is something that was new for me. It was always like, oh, this is the part because it's how it sounds, and then we put the lyrics over top. And this way it was different, you know, because it's more about the lyrical content than it is about the music, really.
That is something where we can connect to something that you said before, you know, about maybe also putting a little bit of harsh reality and harsh truth into it. You like to play with spoken word samples. There are a lot of them strewn across, or at least it sounds the way that it's strewn across the whole EP. And there are some harsh truths that one should be facing. For example, when you in one of them say like, okay, if you do this and this and this, then you're probably 1 out of 9 million Americans who have a serious drinking problem. Um, is that something where it's like, okay, we want to be funny, but there are also truths that need to be said?
We're not trying to change the world in that kind of manner, but but on the other hand, we're not these good little boys trying to tell people they have a drinking problem. Maybe that's more of a a self-reflection. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but the world is a boring place if you're not drinking.
Well, as I'm straight edge, you're talking to the wrong one there, but I know what you mean. And then there are also some other moments, when in one of the spoken word samples, it says like, we don't want to take everything tremendously serious, but it can lead to some form of mental retardation. I mean, like, of course, retardation sounds a little funny, a retard. But would you also say that this band is a way of like escaping the negative sides of world affairs?
Man, it's such a serious question.
I know.
I would say that like that particular sample, that has to do with like lead poisoning, you know what I mean? And in Philadelphia, all the water is tainted, you can't drink.
Yeah, because of the success from a Super Bowl. I mean, like, come on. It must be all the beer cans that you threw into the river. No, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, the water is tainted, so it's just kind of another kind of little joke about ourselves in a way, to not take ourselves too seriously and just enjoy our ride, Yeah,
but I like that it not only makes you laugh, it also sometimes makes you think. I think that is a very cool thing, and I think the US needs something like that at the moment. What is interesting is the way that you approach music and the way that your band approaches, for example, soundscapes. There are some very quirky, sometimes even squeaky noises on the record. Who comes up with that stuff? For example, there is one sound that to me sounds like one of those rubber ducks. Like,
yeah, there is a rubber duck on there. Yeah. And there's some some clown horns and things like that. To be honest, that's part of our daily life, those sounds, because we're silly guys. And I got to say, when I'm at work, there's a rubber chicken right next to me. You know what I mean? And I'm not even lying about that. So that's part of our daily life. We just kind of we're silly, and we just keep that stuff around. And we wanted to implement that, especially on a heavier record, because it just sounds, it makes you laugh. I want people to listen to the record and just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of our, that's our objective.
And I think you definitely reached that perfectly, because there were quite a few moments on the record where I was thinking like, okay, what the heck? What is that sound? For example, it definitely gave a smirk to my face, definitely. For example, I think it's the first track where all of a sudden it sounds, and maybe that's the clown horns that you mentioned, where I felt like there is some kind of, I don't want to say wind instrument, but it sounds like some strange kind of horn, and probably that's the clown horns.
Oh, that's a trombone.
Oh, that's a real instrument. Oh,
yeah, he plays that trombone live. Yes.
Okay. Will he also play that live on stage?
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. But then again, that is something that we should not forget. I mean, like to incorporate all those strange sounds and not make it sound solely and purposefully only goofy, but to turn it into music, that must have been all right venture, I guess. It must have taken some time to get all of that into songs.
It took a lot of effort. Yes, you're sitting there ripping samples, some of them from wherever, YouTube or whatever, and you know, just messing around, cutting them up and putting them over the music to see what fits mix wise and also vibe wise, and make sure they're saying something ridiculous as well. You know what I mean?
But
So
then also to get all those quirky sounds into it, I mean, like,
yeah, a lot of that stuff, some of it was samples and some of it was, yeah, the trombone playing on the record. So, I mean, we wrote the record fairly quickly, maybe in about a month or a month and a half. Maybe we had pretty much the material. It just took a little while. It took a while because we're kind of spread out, and we're also not young lads, so everyone has other things they're doing. So we're kind of like, it took longer than it really should have, but in a way, that's fine.
yeah, and I mean, like, you were still busy partying the Red Sea, you know, as Moses, you know, of course.
Well, Midnight
Um,
Moses, I mean, that's a nod to sensational Alex Harvey Band. I don't know if you know who he is, but
oh yeah, yeah, I know the band, and I think, yeah, I think what are you referring to? Yeah,
he's a Glaswegian,
yeah,
and that was the guy that Bon Scott ripped off. And one of his famous songs was Midnight Moses. I'm like, there it is, right there, man.
yeah. I only know Alex Harvey because one of my favorite Scottish singers once did a cover of him, and then I looked it up a little bit. But yeah, yeah,
Hammer song.
that's okay.
Yeah, the
Um,
Hammer song is the best song, one of the best songs ever written. You'd have to check it out.
we'll give you the link beneath us, so everybody, if you wanna check out that song, just follow the little text beneath. Um, Moses, I would venture to say that your band could not have come at a better moment. I mean, like, there is a resurrection of noise rock, American noise rock. Um, I would guess that you didn't plan to come along on the heels of Chatpile, Squid Pisser, and all of the other great new American noise rock bands, right?
We did not plan that. No, we are not industry plants. No, I think it's just a matter of timing. And when the time happened, it was just a little opening in some of our schedules where we've been talking about it for years, pretty much. And then the time opened up, we were happy to get together and do it.
But you also notice that, right? That this resurrection of American noise rock.
I mean, I see it with Chatpile, definitely. I mean, a band that seems like they blew up, and from what I can tell, they blew up because people like their music, and that's
Yeah,
it. And that's awesome. You know, that's respectable. It's not
yeah,
about the image or anything like that, you know.
yeah, and they also have this kind of sarcastic approach to music sometimes, which is really cool. And they also have stage names, of course.
I didn't know that. I did not
Yeah,
know
they
that.
do. I mean, like, would you really name your son Luther Manhole?
I possibly would, but depends on how high I was, you know.
Yeah, but let's talk about that one track that I've already hinted at, Sugar Smack Jack. I mean, like, of course, it's somewhere. It's like a track talking about diabetes, which is of course, not a cool thing. But who wrote those lyrics? Come on.
That's Cletus Auritus Auritus. That's his poetry, basically, his prose. So yeah.
Because did you talk to him about ripping off the great Bard Shakespeare?
He did that on his own. Yeah.
Because he basically did. He is basically indirectly quoting Romeo and Juliet in one of the sentences. Wherefore art thou? And here it's diabetes, not Romeo. Deny your blah blah blah. That's like, I
Yep.
love that. I love that. Um, how
I'm glad you
auto?
noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, like, an English teacher should notice, right? Um, but seriously, you said that he comes up with ideas and you turn them into flesh them out into music. Um, is he already having, like, the idea for lyrics, or is it at
Yes.
first the songs?
The lyrics are kind of coming first, especially in moving strengths, and his strength is the lyrics and the ideas, you know, and the silly chaos that can ensue, you know. So my strength is kind of putting the stuff together, you know, cohesively and or non-cohesively enough that it kind of works, you know.
And so he comes up with the lyrics, you come up with the music. When do the others come into play? Do you rehearse all the stuff? Do you get it maybe fleshed out a little more together, or how does it work?
Well, I mean, on these records, the first two records, we kind of did it as like him and I and the drummer came in after we fleshed out the ideas, kind of. But moving forward, we're hoping to keep it more open. It's very hard nowadays to get stuff moving forward with a bunch of people involved. You know what I mean? But we did find the right people, so it's you know, we're happy.
And I've heard that there are plans for touring. Are there?
There is some shows coming up. We got like maybe 4 shows coming up in the next month, and then yeah, some other stuff throughout the year. It's going to be scattered, but yeah, there is plans for tours eventually. We just need to get the ball rolling a little faster and just kind of get more people to figure out, you know, the joke basically and get the joke. And if they get it, then maybe they'll want to come to the show, you know.
What I also like about the whole record is that, of course, first of all, it is noise and noise rock, but there are many other moments on the record which are very, very different. For example, Elevator of Pain has some really synthy post-punkish moments. As I said, Sugar Smack Jack is nearly ambient in a way. Is that a reflection of the stuff that you like, all of you?
I think it's a reflection of liking good music.
Yeah.
You know, we've listened to a lot of music, and there's so much good music in so many different like categories, and our idea is to play the music that we like and make it our category as well. You know what I mean? Maybe just it's a bit more discordant or something, but yeah, I mean, post-punk, krautrock, acid rock, Japanese psych rock. You know, I'm doing a lot of, you know, what I would consider more like Japanese styled psych rock, guitar playing on some of the crazier stuff, which I think that was nice because I don't hear that in the noise rock bands as much, you know, like it's more like riff based, you know.
That's true. And for example, when you just mentioned krautrock, there were moments when I thought like, okay, this could also be a hidden track, like Sugar Smack Jack could be a hidden track on the Tangerine Dream record.
Well, that's a good call. Yeah. I mean, we've listened to a lot of 70s stuff, and, you know, it's find the good and take it, basically. Just steal it.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're from Philadelphia, man. We steal stuff.
I won't say anything about that. But yeah, it's a really cool record. You can find a lot of stuff on it. So it's cool to see that. One thing that I have to make sure, when you're playing live, you will remain an anonymous outfit, right? You will remain like masked
up, you mean? Yeah, we'll be masked up to whatever degree. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like we're like trying to hide our, you know, grotesque faces from the world, but the anonymity it provides, it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off as far as I don't know, like, oh, I'm kind of
at a loss for words.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, the masks provide us with basically a blanket to do what we want to do behind closed doors. You know what I mean, and not basically be judged by the masses. I mean, the hundreds of people listening.
Yeah, but I mean, like, of course, if everybody knew that Trent Reznor is a singer, Dave Grohl is a drummer, I mean, like, come on, it would be too many people in the room, right?
Too many egos, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave will have
That
his
would be the
three
problem.
girlfriends, you know.
Yeah, and Kirk Hammett is playing with solos. Yeah, yeah, I see that. I see that. So Moses, first of all, I like the interview and I like all the stuff, but nobody leaves a Veil of Sound interview without having to go through what I like to call the infamous quickfire round at the end. I will always give you two alternatives, and you have to choose and maybe give a short explanation for your choice. Let's start with a few bands that I would tell people to compare Plague Marks to. Unsane. I'll give you two records: This Queen or Scattered, Smothered, and Covered. Which record would you rather listen to right now?
I like a couple tracks on Bisqueen more.
That is a very cool answer because I think a lot of people underestimate that record.
Yeah. I think the sound of it is a bit strange, but
yeah, it's not prototypical Unsane, but it is a really cool record. And I also like the fact that it's one of a few records which does not have red as the main color on the cover. We've been talking about Funkadelic. I'll give you two albums: Maggot Brain versus America Eats Its Young.
You know, if it was 10 years ago, I would have taken Maggot Brain, but maybe at this point I like America Eats Its Young better. Which is
like
strange.
that. Yeah, sometimes, I think sometimes after a few decades, we also all want to find something new than the regular usual answer, right? I would venture 99 people out of 100 would say Maggot Brain. And you being the only one to say America Eats Its Young. Good choice. We've spoken about Chat Pile, so I'll give you their two full lengths: God's Country versus Cool World.
You know, I haven't listened to them too much, but so I would say the one that's not the latest one.
Then it's God's Country.
Okay, then there we go. Yeah.
I have to say that I like both records a lot, and it's a cool path that they're on. And then I'll give you always two bands to choose from: Fetus versus Coil.
Fetus.
Why?
Because I was just watching some live Fetus and I was just blown away by how amazing the tom work is and everything. And I don't know, something about it for me is quite romantic.
Mm-hmm. Current 93 versus 9 Inch Nails.
Never heard of Current 93 and don't really care that much for 9 Inch
That's
Nails.
a very honest answer, which is totally fine. As you have mentioned that you have abbreviated your band's name into PLQ MRX, I wanted to come up with something funny, and I'll give you a new band name: PLQ MRX BRS. Plague Marks Brothers. And therefore, I'll give you two of the Marx Brothers: Groucho versus Harpo.
Man, you're getting a bit too deep for me, but I'm just going to pick one.
Yeah.
Groucho.
Yeah. And as you are from Philly, I mean, like, there are two food staples from Philly: the cheesesteak and the hoagie. Which one would it be for you today?
It would definitely be the cheesesteak. It's a little bit more, simple.
That's true.
There's so many moving parts to a hoagie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's like too many possible varieties, right? I see that.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's true. Sometimes it can be all meat. Sometimes it can be all lettuce. Sometimes it can be all mayo. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but with a cheesesteak, I mean, like, come on, 3 components. How much more variety can you put into it, right?
Exactly.
And last one, Philadelphia. Sports city, you know, the Eagles. I see that. Cool team. It's interesting that Sirianni really won the Super Bowl, although, you know, like I think he has some crazy moves on him. But I'll give you two other Philadelphia teams. So I'll give you the Phillies versus the Flyers. Whose game would you rather watch?
In person?
Yes.
Flyers.
Because?
Just a little faster pace, a little more
That's
movement, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, baseball can be exciting to a degree, but I'd rather see guys hashing it out on the ice. You know what I mean?
Huh? Yeah, and I think Blake Marks would do a cool in-between show between like two of the times, right? Yeah, that could I see that. We should talk to the Flyers to get you somewhere and into one of the shows.
Yeah, maybe we could even shoot, you know, a little lower in this some kind of bobo. We used to have the Philadelphia Wings. I think they were a lacrosse team, so
Yeah.
you know they play more metal and stuff like over the loudspeakers. I think that might maybe even be a more fitting for us. Something more bobo.
So, Moses, thanks for your time. Thanks for all the detailed answers. Everybody, check out Cumgitsum when it comes out in a few days on Reptilian, Totem Cat, and Fust and Bust. It's a really cool record. It is funny as hell, and it still is, first of all, good music. Moses, thanks for your time.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Yeah. Bye-bye.